Am I the a-hole for abandoning my daughter on vacation? My wife and I have always dreamed of celebrating our 40th anniversary with a luxurious vacation. Just the two of us, reliving the romance of our early years. We had it all planned out for years now, and we're excited beyond words. Enter our adult daughter, Jane. Jane and her husband got wind of our plans and promptly invited themselves and their two children, 9-year-old female and 5-year-old male, along. I originally put my foot down and told them this trip was just for us, which upset her some. But my wife has a hard time saying no to Jane, as she is the youngest of our children and our only daughter, and she didn't want to hurt her feelings, so she reluctantly agreed to let them join. I wasn't thrilled about it at the time, but I wanted to make my family happy, and I knew my wife was also okay with the idea of a family trip. Even if she was heartbroken we wouldn't get our romantic trip. We went along with it. The place we were originally going was not child-friendly, so we changed course and decided on an all-inclusive family-friendly resort. We paid for the resort and our grandchildren's plane tickets. Jane and her husband only had to pay for their own airfare. Here's where things get complicated. As the vacation got closer, I started having a change of heart. I realized that our 40th anniversary was a once-in-a-lifetime milestone, and I wanted to honor it in a way that was true to our original plans. My wife and I might not be able to afford a trip like this again for quite some time, and it's something we always wanted to do. So, without consulting anyone, I switched our tickets last minute to go to the romantic destination that my wife and I had originally planned for. I did not tell Jane or her husband. I didn't even tell my wife until the day before our flight left, which was a day before Jane's flight left for their vacation. It wasn't an easy decision, and I feel guilty about it. But I wanted our 40th anniversary to be the special, intimate celebration we had always hoped for. We called Jane after we landed to tell her, and she was extremely upset, to say the least. She seemed of the idea that we were going to look after our grandkids so she and her husband could have alone time, and now that I abandoned her they would have to do it all themselves. I hung up on them when my son-in-law started shouting, and my wife and I enjoyed the rest of our trip. They came back the same day we did, but have not answered any of our texts, and Jane seems to be ignoring me. My wife told me she vastly preferred our trip to the family trip we would have taken, but she still doesn't like how Jane is mad at us and wants me to apologize. I'm not sure I want to, after learning Jane and her husband were using us for free babysitting and a free trip, but I feel like I should, just to keep the peace. Am I the a-hole for changing our trip destination last minute and leaving Jane and her family to fend for themselves? Let's read some of the comments and then I will tell you my thoughts. This person writes, "Not the a-hole. What part of the 40th anniversary trip did your daughter and son-in-law not understand? Oh, boo freaking who, they wanted to spend time alone and designated the grandparents to babysit on what should have been their special trip. If your daughter and son-in-law wanted alone time on a trip, they could have gone on a different trip and politely asked you and your wife to watch the kids while they were away. Not try and hijack your trip. Do not feel guilty, OP. Not even for a second. You and your wife have done the parenting of your kids, and now it's time to start enjoying life as a couple again. Sure, you're parents and grandparents, but you're still a couple and deserve to enjoy falling in love with each other all over again with romantic trips that do not include your offspring or grandkids. Your daughter needs a swift kick of reality right in the tuchus. She had the audacity to invite her family to your romantic weekend with the express purpose of securing babysitters so she could enjoy herself without any thought for her parents. The entitlement is mind-boggling." Another person writes, "Everyone sucks here. Jane and husband suck the most for attempting to hijack your anniversary trip as a family get-together in which they'd use you as free babysitting. Your wife for siding with Jane rather than standing up with you for the romantic couple's vacation that you'd envisioned and desired. And, finally, you suck for telling everyone you were doing one thing and at the last minute unilaterally. This person writes, not the a-hole. And here's what you tell your daughter: sweetheart, I'm so sorry that you barged in on me and your mother's anniversary trip and guilted us into paying for you and your husband and kids to come along for free. And I'm sorry that instead of you forcing us to babysit your kids on a vacation that I paid for, you had to actually be a parent while your mother and I enjoyed our anniversary together alone like was originally planned. I'm just so sorry you're upset that you got a free vacation. End apology. And now for my thought. You already told your daughter and her husband that you did not want them on your trip, and they still decided to invite themselves on your romantic trip that you have been planning for years. They were planning to use you for childcare. You paid for the grandkids' portion of the vacation, and you had changed your trip to accommodate the grandkids. OP, all I hear is that you and your wife do not have any form of boundary with your daughter, to the point that you almost put her needs above yours, and you do not need to anymore because she is an adult. The way you went about this was all wrong. You should have stuck to your no, and your wife should have backed you up so you would not have had to sneak behind your daughter's back to go on the vacation you preferred, and that's why you feel guilty. It is okay to say no to your daughter. You're not that a-hole for letting Jane fend for herself. Heck, you are not the a-hole for changing your trip last minute, but you are the a-hole for the sneaky way you went about it, giving your daughter false hope that you wanted her on your trip when in fact you didn't. On the a-hole meter, you scored a 3.5 out of 10. I think you should apologize to your daughter, but she also owes you an apology. Congrats on your 40th anniversary. We've come to the end. Do you think OP was the a-hole or not? Leave your thoughts in the comment section.